Okay, yep. Let's see. I know you'd probably talk to, you talked to Mike and Jordan. I don't have a lot to say because, um, it was obviously just a recap from last year. It was a great year last year. Really happy for Jose and Moses and their opportunities professionally, and I really like our team this year. I don't know a lot about our team when I say I don't know a lot about our team because until we play somebody will I have a better feel. And of course I know our team, but you don't really get a real good feel until you play an opponent and kind of see what's good and what's not because sometimes when you're playing against each other for so long, you don't know if it's good defense or not good offense or vice versa. So you're just trying to figure it out, and the best way to once we can figure that out will be once we get to be able to play an opponent. But excited for this year, excited to have fans back. I know Mr. Stansberry has said, at this point we're moving forward with full fans and full stadium. I don't know which bench will be. If they're going to keep us on the other side, that'll be interesting if that will change or not. But looking forward to the season. We got a really tough schedule, got a tough non-conference schedule, and of course we got the ACC and got a heck of a stretch. And I've said it many times. I think the ACC is the best league in all of college basketball, and it's just going to be a real gauntlet, and plus our non-conference schedule. And we open up against three really tough teams, starting out with Miami, Ohio. They got pretty much their whole team back. They're very good, very well coached. Then you got Coach Donnie Jones and Stetson. They got most of their team back, and then Coach Brooks at Lamar. I mean, there's just those first three games are going to be tough, and we'll have to be really ready to go and be ready to play on those opening first three games.
Right. It seems like you have maybe a deeper roster this year
Yep.
than you've had in the past, and I know you like to use a short rotation. Do you use some of those preseason games to maybe decide on narrowing down that rotation?
Yeah, look, playing seven guys that's what I've sort of done. But I do believe this year we're deeper, Rod, and I'll be able to play more guys. And I'll have to figure it out. So I'll have to get comfortable with that, with playing more guys, which this year we'll have that opportunity to do so just based on depth and things like that. And in that scrimmage, when we scrimmage, in that so-called private scrimmage, I'm going to play everybody. Again, not that you don't want to win, but you're going to play everybody. Instead of maybe playing the scoreboard, you're going to play the guys to play, because you want to give everyone enough time so you have a real opportunity to evaluate. Even if there was a run or something not going your way, or if it was a countable game, I would sub somebody out right away. I want to be able to have enough film and be able to get a good feel and have everyone be able to play different combinations. And then I think when we get to Morehouse, we'll have a better understanding and a feel, and maybe get it more, prepared in preparation for opening games. But we're going to have to play more than we're capable, and we'll be able to play more than what I've normally played, just based on talent-wise.
Obviously, the big question is the 5 spot, kind of where you see from those three guys, and kind of maybe give me a little bit on each of them, what they do well.
Yeah, Kelly, it's just going to have to be a rotation deal by committee. When you're replacing the ACC Player of the Year, it's not going to be just one guy is going to just step in and do it. So we're going to have to do it through committee, Kelly, and it might not be, it might still be, it could be 12 points, 10 rebounds, but not by one individual. It could be by the entire group. And what I would tell you is Rodney Howard has gotten better. He's improved, feeling more comfortable. I think Saba has really improved and has gotten better. And Jordan Mecca, who didn't play at all last year, or even get a practice because of the injury, is starting to feel a little more comfortable. But for guys like Saba and Jordan Mecca, who haven't really played in any meaningful minutes, it's going to be a work in progress and learning for him. And for Rodney, he's never been counted on to be in the position that he's in. So all three of those guys, it's new for him. And I think all three are going to be really good. And there's going to be, and I understand there's going to be some ups and downs with them this year because they've got to get into the flow. That being said, we need them to really start being on all cylinders and clicking by the time we really get to league play. And I understand that. And so there's going to be some ups and downs and some, trial by fire. But when we get to league play, we've got to kind of have that position solidified that, okay, we understand what we got. And it might just be by committee where all three guys just 2 minutes here, 5. I mean, we just, because there hasn't been separation right now. They're kind of bunched, which is not a bad thing. We have multiple guys at that position that can do multiple things. And the number one thing is they've obviously got to play hard and do their part on that part.
With those three, how they improve in particular, what have been
Well, look, Ken, they're all three different than Moses, right? And I think that's first and foremost, just because of Moses' unique skill sets. They're all three. Jordan, Mecca, and Rodney are traditional 5 men. Saba's 7'1", even though he's a 5, he can be he's very skilled, he can do something. But the difference between those three and Moses, they're more traditional 5 men, if that makes sense. Even though Saba can be a little more, moving on the perimeter and doing some different things. I just think the way they've gotten better is, and it's just for all three of them, because of the way we play, they touch the ball a lot, maybe not always at the block, but they touch it a lot at the elbow. So they have to get used to playing with the ball and playing through them. So just that comfort level of their skill set being better. And I think them having that comfort level, knowing that they're going to be dependent on, Ken, I think it's more than a physical and a skill set. I think it's more of a mental that, okay, like, they are going to be dependent and counted on this year to produce in order for us to win games. And the production doesn't have to be they score 20, but they got to produce with the way they defend, the way they don't turn it over, running the floor, making the simple play, the quick jump hook. So, they're going to be really counted on, whereas in the years past, for all those guys, even though they've been here a short time, they haven't been counted on to really win us the game, and they're going to have to help us win games. And that might be by committee. And so we'll have to figure it out. What's interesting is for even for this year, because we have 17 players, if you include everybody. And technically we only have 11 scholarships because the Bubba Parham and Jordan Usher don't count. But that's a lot of guys when you think about it, even in practice, trying to play 5 and 5 and like you guys, a guy like Jelani James and Jermonte Hill, who are not on scholarship but are good players. Jelani has really gotten better, and Jermonte was recruited by a lot of Division I's, even in the ACC level. So it's that's been an interesting dynamic, and we're not the only school going through. I've talked to some other coaches. How are they dealing with that? Because they are, with a lot of guys. So again, the cohesiveness, the chemistry part of it is all going to be. Matter of fact of making sure that that's in a good spot to be able to win games.
Right. I guess it's pretty much a given that Moore, Kelly, and Debo are efficient on the offensive end. How have they adapted to what you want to do on the defensive end?
I really like our freshman class, and I would include Jermonte in that with Miles Kelly and Jalen Moore and Debo Coleman and Jermonte. Those 4 freshmen are good players. They got good size. All are good players. But as with any freshman, there's a big learning curve. There's a big adjustment, and those guys they're just to learn about how hard you have to play on every possession and the things that we do. We're a little different. We're unique. We're a little complex on both sides of the ball. So kind of trying to pick that up. But I'll have a better feel when we play the games, especially in the scrimmage and in the game versus Morehouse. I'll just have a better feel in those guys because again, you're in our practices, even though it's competitive and you're competing, there is no, you're not under the lights, you're not playing against another opponent. Everyone knows in our deal, everyone knows what they're going to do at the time because everyone, you're going against each other. So that's the one, and I always thought about this even with football. that's the one big advantage for basketball. Is you getting two opportunities, just like the NBA. You get the preseason, and that's where in the NFL you get a couple of those preseason games. In college football, you got to play right away in a game that counts. And that's where I thought we got hurt last year. I'm just looking, and of course so many things with the COVID and all that stuff, but not being able to have that game early or two games to kind of just see where your team, and not just for us, I'm talking all over the country. I just think it helps you give you a better idea on where you stand. I wish we could have more games prior to our first countable game, like 3 scrimmages, just because of the fact of giving more people opportunities to really see where they're at.
I imagine their size, though, is a plus.
We got
defensive
good size for those young guys. Really good size, good length. That's the biggest thing. We got good length.
Just in terms of, I guess, starting faster, that's obviously been an issue the last couple of years. And Mike and Jordan will talk about it too. Like, kind of recruiting.
Yep.
How do you make that happen for you guys? Not so slow.
Yeah, you're right, Kelly. I mean, heck, Ken's son out there could have done a better job than I've done with the way we've started some of these starts. It's driven me up the wall. And I'm not saying Ken could, but his son could. I want to be clear on that. I don't know. Yeah, you're right. It's something that we have to be better at. The good news, and me being the optimist, it shows that we get better throughout the year, that our teams have improved. However, there is no question that we've got to be better in the early season non-conference. And I've addressed that with our guys. We've talked about it. I think, again, last year, we got our butts beat first 2 games. I don't know if things. I hope things would have been different if we were able to, do different things. Looking back at it, as I've said it, 1,000 times with all the practice stuff and all that. But for this year, we are very well aware of that, and our starts are important. And we don't have, an easy even though. And I would tell everyone, don't look at the opponent by the name on the front of the jersey. You need to really look at their roster and the experience factor of what grade these guys are in. It's just why you see college football. It's like Pitt football. Pitt, I think, lost to Western Michigan. And Pitt's a really good team. I think Georgia Tech football is a good team. They struggle against Northern Illinois. I could go all along the line around college football, but if you look at those teams that they lost, and all these different teams that FBS that lost to FCS, it's because if you look senior, 5th year senior, 6th year senior, 5th year junior, boom, 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 boom. And so the experience factor matters when you're playing younger teams. And I think for this year, you look at like the teams that we open up with, I mean, they're on older teams. So it's imperative that we start better. I've heard it from the fans. I spoke somewhere earlier in the year, and that was one of the first things. It's great that we get better. Oh, how do we start better, Coach? And I agree, we've got to start better. Now, we don't want to start better and then fall off. We've got to start better and then be consistent throughout the entire year. I think that's really important, but we're going to have to do it on the floor. We're playing good teams that are well coached with good players.
What kind of role can you envision for Davon?
Yeah, Ken, I think Davon's, he's a good player, fast, a really good athlete, quick. I think he'd be a really good defender. What's interesting is Coach Schwartz, my assistant, used to always tell me, Coach, there's going to be life without Alvarado at some point. He would be telling me this throughout the time because I was so accustomed to having Jose just, dive on the floor and all those things and just that toughness. And you'd always, Coach, you're going to have to, at some point, there's going to be life. And I thought we might get Jose one more year because of the COVID thing. But Davon and Kyle, both guys know that because both guys can do different things even better than what Alvarado did. And the key, though, is can they match up with the way he defended and the 50-50 balls. Jose, over time, he wasn't a great shooter when he got here. He became a good shooter towards the end of his career here. So Davon and Kyle, they both need to be just gritty, gutty, tough. They've got to lead us and try to be great guard defensive rebounders and winning 50-50 balls.
On the same subject, Davon, his athleticism is sort of off the charts. I mean, there's a lot he can do. Is he someone you really have to keep under control at times?
No, I mean, as I've said this before, you got to have his skill needs to match to his athleticism. That's the big thing. So that's going to be the big thing, and we just got to keep getting better. You know, he's had a little bit of bumps and bruises in this part here where, you know, he's missed some practices just because of some, you know, minor stuff. You know, but there's no denying he's a really great athlete.
How's Tristan doing? What's going on this week?
He's a good player. I mean, you can see when you watch him play, he's done some great things. You know, I like Tristan. We just have a lot of guys, and so a guy like Tristan, not that he can't play this year because he can help us this year. It's just, you know, there's only so many minutes, and so I recognize that. So will guy like him, if he's not in the rotation, I'm not saying he's not in the rotation. I'm just saying if it came to that and he wasn't, you know, will he be able to, in this day and age, stay the course, knowing, okay, as I see guys moving on, you know, I'm going to, because he's going to be good. He's a gamer. You know, but that's not a Georgia Tech thing. That's just all around the country. Is because of the transfer rule that you can leave at any point without sitting out. I hope some guys understand that they just can see the big picture. Because, you know, we do have a lot of good perimeter guys and older guys too, but after this year, a lot of those guys are going to be gone. And that really opens up some great opportunities for those younger guys, which includes Tristan. And again, I think Tristan's been good. He's a good player. You can see where his talent is catching up to, you know, last year was just tough for him, just the transition. But he's done some really good things to this point.
Khalid played a big role for you guys down the stretch last year, sort of a glue guy. What are you expecting his role to be this year?
Sort of the same. He's got to continue to improve, and he has, and just a hard-playing guy, and he's got to help us win games and defend and guard guys and, you know, compete, dive on the floor, and be able to, you know, to make open jump shots.
Debo's shooting range, is it
Ve-
legitimate?
It's very deep. He can really shoot, and he's got great size for a freshman, Ken, and he can really shoot it deep. But, you know, he was player of the year in the state of Florida last year, and he averaged, he could score, in the 30s. He was scoring, 30-plus points a game. It's just, it's a transition. You're used to being that guy, and the way I play, it's just I like high assists, not giving the ball a headache and keeping it moving. And so it's a transition. But there's no denying he's going to be a really good player. I'm excited about his future and his progression.
Kelly, offensively, Mike was your point guard for last year in terms of set up offense a lot. Kind of do you expect that role to increase for him to be more of that type of player versus playing more off the ball?
Kelly, I just think what's interesting with us is, and I think it's sort of, everyone says it now, everyone's interchangeable, but I really think the way we play, because of the amount of cutting and moving, we don't really have a defined position of you only can play point, because once the ball's moved, it's really about rhythm, flow, and energy. And so the biggest thing for him is he can really help us win games without even scoring, which he did against Florida State in that championship game in the ACC. He can really help us win games without scoring. I just think as long as he buys into that, because he's been really at a high level to this point, really, really good, really high. Like a big time player. And I've been excited about him. And he's been doing it without having to score all the time too. And to answer both your guys' question about the bigs, I was thinking, I've been here 5 years. Every year I've had our 5-man be first team all defense, or been a great shot blocker, and that's going to be a challenge too, because I had Ben Lammers both years, James Banks both years, and Moses last year, and had that shot blocking presence, and that's going to be a real challenge for us this year. And those guys really defending are going to have to. To me, that's going to be the biggest area that they've got to. I know we're going to miss some things on scoring wise, but we can't have we can't drop defensively from that 5 spot. That's really important. And again, it might not be one guy averaging, but somebody's got to step up and be a big time defender for us at that X5 spot.
And Mike said that his feedback was about his defense from the NBA. And I imagine you've seen him embrace maybe that, upping that like you
Yeah,
said.
and this summer he got with Coach Page. He was doing track and field. We put him with the Coach Page, with the track and field coach. I thought that was just, and Coach Page is one of the best in the world at what he does, and he's been with him, and so he's really improved a lot on his feet and the stuff that he does, and that's a credit to Coach Page. He's taught him how to do different things, and I thought it's been really beneficial for Mike. Yeah.
How did that come about?
Just you have, and I don't know, right, Moose? I mean, he's Coach Page is. I mean, he was the Olympic sprint, and he's one of the best. I mean, he's known as, and so I was like, we got to help you. I can't teach you how to run. I mean, I can teach you basketball, but the athleticism part, I got to get someone, and of course Dan can do things, but it was really about, it's the littlest details of how to run properly, using your arms, your feet, when we asked Coach Page if he would be willing, and Mike went on the track team. Now, obviously, he wasn't going to score any points for him, but he became a member of the track and field team for the entire for the spring, summer, and into the summer and to the fall. He's been working with Coach Page. Obviously, now it's been not as much because we've been practicing a bunch, but he spent a lot of time with Coach, and it's been good for him. It's really helped Mike. It's really helped Mike a lot.
Mike? Good. You got one?
Yeah, I got, just, looking, I guess, overall at your roster and all the pieces you have back, is it gonna be sort of a smaller ball team when you play, with a post and?
Well, I think it just depends. That's going to depend on the progression of the 3-5 men. We will need to be prepared to play small at times, but depending on how Saba, Rodney, and Jordan Mecca play, will be dependent on how much do we need to go small. If they're really playing well and doing their part, and we don't need to, fine. But if they're not doing their part, we might have to look at that. But I really believe for us to win at the level we need to win at, we need those guys to play well, even if it's by committee. Doesn't mean there can be a segment of going small, but I don't think you can just all the time do it. There's got to be, you need some help in there, especially in this league, against the bigs that we're playing against, just that physicality. So we've got to get those 5 men, those 3 guys to either someone takes off or the 3 of them just figure it out and we do it by committee.